with Vienna Whyte, episode 82. I'm your host, Millie Rouge.
And I'm Marissa Kay, your other host.
And together we make up the band Vienna Whyte from Edmonton, Canada. This roundtable is a Yeg Music production. Marissa, could you start us off tonight by introducing our guests that we have on the show?
Absolutely. So we have Casper from Trubaskatter, Dave DeVita, Stan Sandronov,
Hi.
Pato, Rafa Paril, and Sylv.
Hello.
Wonderful. So in about 30 seconds, can you guys give us a brief description of how your musical journey came to be? Casper, can we start with you?
My musical journey, well, we've got a band with 8 people on stage. We play a lot of acoustic instruments with a lot of wind instruments, and I play the accordion in this group, and we've got a rapper in front. Yeah.
Wonderful. Dave, can we get you next?
Hello. Actually, I started making music and singing with rock bands and different projects like 14 years ago. And then with the years, I decided to take my way and to started to write my own music. So that's what I'm doing since around 2019.
Awesome.
Incredible. Stan, can we get you next?
Yeah, sure. I'm a bass player and I used to study in Switzerland and in Germany, Munich. And actually, I know Casper. We studied together. Hi. Nice coincidence. And I play many projects. It starts from jazz and pop bands, also funk and rock bands as well. So yes, and I have a little bit of my own music. Yeah, that's it. And I play a little bit guitar also.
Fantastic.
Small world.
Pato, can we get you next?
Yes, I started writing my own songs with like 15 years of age, like 6 years ago now. And since then I kept on releasing all independent. I think my highlight was one time play on on one of the biggest open airs in Switzerland, but I'm like on a start. I'm like really young and I'm just enjoying it at the moment. This year I released 10 singles in 10 months and keep on doing. Yes, that's me.
Fantastic. Rafa, can we get you next?
Yeah, I really started playing the guitar when I was like 6 years old. And after that, like 5 years, I stopped. And later I found out that I can make music without playing any instruments. And I started producing my own music and DJing. And it was like 6 years ago, I think. And yeah, I have released 4 songs right now on Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere. And yeah, hope that more will come.
Fantastic. Sylv, can we get you next?
Yeah, sure. I really started music when I was 16 in a band. I was in a metal band and we didn't have money to record a song in the studio. So I started to make it myself and the sound was really crappy. And all my life, I tried to improve my sound, and here I am with the recording studio, and now I'm a pop rock singer. So life is really funny sometimes.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your stories. Really cool that it's kind of like a small world.
Yeah,
interesting.
Really interesting.
So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. We're gonna get right into our questions here.
So for those of you that may or may not know that are watching, our topic of the day is music from Switzerland.
If you couldn't tell by the flag on our background here, so.
That's what we're doing today. So I want to start off with our first question here. So if you had to describe the Swiss music scene in a few sentences, How would you describe it from a musician's perspective versus being a music fan's perspective? So we're starting...
Casper, we'll start with you.
Well, yeah, I think it's a lot of, we've got a lot of different bands in Switzerland. We've got a lot of different styles. We've got a big jazz scene. We've got a lot of musicians. They play a lot of jazz, and we've got a big popular music scene. We've got a lot of different bands, and I like that way of living here. We've got a lot different bands we can listen to, and I like that a lot.
So that's really cool, like lots of different genres. So if you had to describe it, let's say from a music fan's perspective, what would you say would be the most popular thing kind of going on in the Swiss music scene?
It's difficult to say. It's the most popular thing. We've got a big hip hop festival in Switzerland. That's, I think, a big scene is hip hop, rap, or a trap music. We've got a few big pop music festivals around here, and I think that's another big Swiss part of music. And then a lot of folk music as well. We've got a lot of groups, they play folk music and try to invent some new music with folk instruments. So yeah, it's difficult to say. Maybe other guys has to say another thing.
I think when I have to take one big band from Switzerland, I will go with Gotthard. I think you all know them. They were really great and had a great singer. I don't really know the new one, but Steve Lee died in 2010, and I think that was a really, really great band.
Yes.
We can say there's a lot of variety in the Swiss music scene because there's a lot of different styles, and then there's different regions based on the different speaking regions. There's Swiss German, Swiss Italian, Swiss French. So there's a lot of languages and there's a lot of styles and micro music scenes connected. That's interesting to see. Sometimes we try to cross the bridges and to meet, but it's not always so easy to do that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not so easy to see what happens in the French part of Switzerland and the Italian part of Switzerland as well.
You just have to take your feet and walk away and live there. For example, I come from the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland, and then I moved to the French-speaking part, and then gave me some ideas, some connections in the two different scenes, and then next step it's a Swiss German, but it's not so easy.
Well, and it's interesting that you bring up like walking to the different parts of like seeing all these different music scenes, because I read in an interview with a Bern-based band called the Jackets that Switzerland encourages musicians to play outside of the country. So why is that?
Because it's a small country, maybe. But it's strange, yeah, if you put it like that.
Yeah, we're from Canada. We can't relate to a small country. You walk for 6 hours, you're still in the city that we're in. So,
the thing is also when you got success in Switzerland, it's really small and everyone knows you. And if you want to go further, you have not any choice. You have to go. From my part, I have to go to France if I want to blow up, for example. And a lot of famous Swiss band that I know, they didn't want them in Switzerland. They didn't want to sign them, and they went to France. And when they signed them, they just blew up. So, and then after Switzerland recognized them and wanted to work with them, but it was already too late. So, yeah, they don't take any chance sometimes.
That's an interesting anecdote, because I would have thought that because of there's so much going on. Whoops, our microphone fell. There's so much going on in the Swiss music scene that you'd think that there would be more bands signing to labels and labels wanting Swiss artists to promote Swiss music. So that's interesting that they signed in France of all places. But that's really cool. So in Canada, we also get monetary support from our government, which is kind of a nice transition for this question. Is there any sort of subvention program in Switzerland for monetary support for artists? And if so, how has it helped you? So Stan, if we can get you to start this question off, if you know anything.
To repeat the question again.
Yeah, of course. No, it's totally fine. So in Canada, yeah, no, it's totally fine. So in Canada, we have a bunch of programs set up for artists that give like monetary support, so you can sign up for grants and loans and scholarships and stuff. Is there any sort of program like that in Switzerland? And if there is, how has it helped you?
Okay. Yeah, I think there are many of them, many of the programs, but there are also many people who really want to have like support of the programs. So I think to get support, you have to write this kind of a good review of yourself, like of your band, for example, and then it's really possible. But you have to, like, I wouldn't rely on, like, if you write for 2 or 3 supports, like you have to make a list of 10 or 15, and then maybe one of them answers you, and then you get support. But I would say the support is can be quite good, but of course it's a matter of luck.
There's a lot of gigs and festivals where young artists can go to, and they help the winner promote their music. They pay the studio and all that stuff. There's a lot of this in,
like
in the French
competitions. Yes.
Competition, yeah.
With prizes and so. But I don't know where you come from, but in my canton, in my region, there's like a possibility to ask for young artists and musicians to have some funds, some money for your project. It can be like an album, a music video, or a concert or a festival. I know there's this possibility in Ticino. I don't know, in your canton, I suppose there's something like this in your canton too.
To be honest, I really never heard from that. Okay. But I was not.
Maybe we're lucky in Ticino. I don't know.
What?
Maybe we're lucky in Ticino, and you don't find this in every canton of Switzerland. But I don't know. But we have this little help if you ask.
I think really each of the canton has something like that. You have to do it. You have to write all your money you have paid for your CD, and then give it to the canton, and then they maybe can give you some money. But I think it's everywhere in Switzerland like that. Or as you said, we have some funds where you can try to get some money from. But you have to do it. It's like an office job you have to do.
Yeah, and the most important thing is that you, when you send a request, then you really have to have a detailed like business plan, like how much money do you spend, like for like traveling for the musicians, how much money you really need so that they can see how they support you, and you have to also set like a number. For example, we need 10,000 francs, and then the reason to why, and then that's how it works basically.
And I'm curious, because this is a thing in Canada with our grant program. Is there a deadline for when you have to use the money for? Or is it like you can use the money for however long it takes your project to be finished?
I'm not pretty sure, but... Oh, sorry. Please, Dave.
No.
Okay. I just wanted to say I'm not pretty sure if there's a deadline, but I think if you have like really already a planned tour, like with 10 concerts, and you get the money, then you usually spend it. You don't wait for, well, for a better moment or something.
Okay, cool. I was curious because in Canada we have like, you have to have this done. You can apply for extensions, but you can't, there's like a deadline that you have to have all this done by, or like the project already has to be a certain amount of completion. Yeah. So it's interesting. So let's move to Switzerland so we can get some money.
It's that easy.
Yeah.
So my next question is kind of similar to what we were chatting about previously, but in Canada, being a full-time musician or even a major part-time musician, it's often seen by some people as not really a real job, as they say, or simply looked at by some as not a smart decision. So do you find support from your friends and family in Switzerland, or is it much of the same as it is for us when you tell people that you're a musician? Do you get that similar response, or do you find it's more supportive? So we're going to start with Pato, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think as far as I know, it's not like really a way to go to say with like 18 years or 20 years of age, yeah, I'm doing full-time music from now on, because it's so less that people can make a living from it in Switzerland, because so many things have to match with each other. You have to play many gigs. Without that, like I think there are like 1, 2, or 3 artists that really make money with streaming nowadays. So everything you get paid is with concerts, and that's like really difficult. So for me, it was not a choice. I just simply thought that I will do something that is related to music. So I'm in the scene and I'm doing what I'm passionate about, but I can't do just my music and hope that someday maybe it's possible, but it's like no, I can't rely on that. But I don't know how it's for the other ones. I just know it from the hip hop. For hip hop artists, it's on the one side it's difficult, but I think there are some hip hop artists that jumped into the mainstream, and like there is a way, but it's really difficult.
We are in a banker country, so you say you do music, it's not a good point. So I think it's the same thing for every country. When you say you're a musician, they think that you're just a lazy guy who's just playing guitar and singing and just wants to do nothing all day. But it's not true. You can do many things in music. You can be a producer. You can be a teacher. You can work for the theater. Be a musician is not only being a performer. So, but yeah, like I said, Switzerland is more known for being. You better be a banker than a musician.
Kind of true.
Well, it's funny because it's like, well, you could be like, I can only imagine how much of an advantage you'd have if you started off as a banker and then you became a musician, because then you're like, I know how to handle all my finances properly, instead of musicians being like, I can only count to 4, or at least that's how I relate to it. But that's really cool that you mentioned that it can be something that you can do. It doesn't just have to be performing, or in certain genres like Pato, like you were saying. I think that's really valid of you guys mentioning that 100%. And it's very similar here in Canada too. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And so when you're talking about being a musician and being in the music scene and how there's so many different things that you can do, In the same interview that I had mentioned before, they also had mentioned that the music scene in Switzerland has been described as small but growing quickly. Where do you feel that growth has come from the most? Do you feel that growth has come from the number of artists? Do you feel that it's come from live venues? Do you feel that it's come from public interest? Where do you think the growth in the music scene has come from? Rafa, can we start with you?
Yeah, I think a really important step is to get played on the radio, to get growth, and also play gigs, festivals, and stuff like that, and to promote your music. I think it's really, really important to promote your music. And yeah, there are so many radios in Switzerland who support young musicians, and I think you have to get, one day you have to get to this, to get the support from the radios played all over in Switzerland.
Cool. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think all in all, there are only like a few Spotify playlists to get on, and they're not like updated every week. So it's a lottery on that hand. And with radios, it's I think the Swiss scene has grown, but we're like far from the final stage, because if you imagine this hip hop festival, it's like the biggest hip hop festival in all of Europe, and the Swiss artists are playing like at 4 o'clock or something like that, and all the other, there are stars from all around the world who play the main stage on the prime in prime time. And also I think it's the appreciation is too little by now, but I think step by step we're getting there. But also it's not that easy to get on these radios, especially on the big ones, and especially if you making music in Swiss German. But again, it's kind of weird because it's our country, and many people don't appreciate the music what is made in their own country. But it's getting better.
Yeah, I think that too. I think a lot of people want to check out what's happening in the local scene. A lot of people want to listen about music from Switzerland, but only people from Switzerland want to listen to Swiss music. I don't think that Swiss music is very, very international. There are some groups and some bands they can play all around the globe or whatever, or in Europe, but not a lot of Swiss bands can go out of the country. It depends. Like when you play Swiss music, you sing in Swiss German. That would mean you can only play in Swiss German or the Swiss German region.
So then, do you feel a lot of pressure to write more songs in English as you go further in your career, or do you stick to Swiss German because that's what you know? Is there any pressure to sing in English?
Is the question for me?
Yeah, if you like.
Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
Because I heard Swiss German. I speak French, actually. So do I feel pressure of writing in no, actually, it's the opposite. And if I want to make a career in France, it's the opposite. I have to write in French, because they allow, I don't know the split, but
you can say it in French. She might be able to translate.
Oh, no, I was speaking English. You have to, if you want to get on the radio, there are space for French songs, and the rest is for international guy like Ed Sheeran, Rihanna, all that stuff. So if I go with a song that is written in English, they're gonna say, "Oh, no, we don't have any more space for you." But I don't want to have that pressure. I just like to write in English, even if I don't really speak well. But to me, sounds better, and I try to sing in French, and it doesn't sound really good. So I'm not trying to reach the radio for that. Now I just do my things, and that's it.
That's interesting that you bring that up of how singing in French in France is like how you get into the scene.
Yeah,
whereas, you know, Casper, you were saying that it feels like almost you have to really try to get yourself outside of that Swiss German box. Is that how you guys feel about the Swiss music scene?
Well, for me, not. I am very happy to play Swiss music. We've got a Swiss German group, and I'm very happy to play in Switzerland and play. We've got a lot of great clubs, a lot of good festivals, and for me, it's okay to. We don't have to write texts in English.
Well, that's fantastic. Really cool to hear. So with Swiss having a few different spoken languages, we covered this a little bit already, but do you find that it's harder to gain national-wide attention, or do most of the other artists stick to German, French, English, or any one of those other languages? Like, do you find that other artists are trying to stick to their language, or other artists are trying to push more internationally? Dave, why don't we start with you?
Well, I have to say that first of all, I think you have to dare a little bit to cross the bridges, like I was saying before, and then try to meet some new people, and maybe write an email in another language, even if it's not so easy all the time. And then today, maybe it's easier than 10 years ago with, for example, Instagram. I'm meeting a lot of artists via Instagram. That's helping. And what was the question? Sorry, I don't remember.
No, that's okay. I was saying, do you see other bands trying to promote and push internationally, or do you see other bands trying to stay in the local scene, in the local Swiss languages, local Swiss?
I think the majority of artists, they try to do something internationally, I think, or at least nationally. Then, because if you, for example, try to decide to speak and to sing in Swiss German or in French or in Italian, just like more, you know that you're creating a niche. Maybe if it's French, you know that you have the Swiss French part in France, maybe. Then Swiss German, maybe it's more it's like a real niche. But if you know that, okay. By the way, if you sing in English, you know that probably you want to do something more internationally. But I don't think you have to sing in English because you want to go there or there. I think it's an artistic choice, but then you should ask all the artists. But I see that there's a lot of artists who sing and making music in English. I think it's one part because we're influenced by the English music, you know, American English music. We hear on the radio, we listen to music in English all the time. When I was young, when I was a kid, I was listening to bands and artists on the radio. There's not a lot of music in Italian, in French, in German, but yes, the majority in Switzerland, in the major radios, it's in English. So I think it's an influence that we have. For example, me personally, I love making music and singing in English. So that's not just because I want to go internationally or not. It's because I love singing and making music in English. I think it's the majority of people do this because of the same reason.
Well, and it's funny because from my perspective, or at least, oh, sorry, go ahead, Pato, go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot about this from a career perspective point. But then when it actually comes to making music, I'm never listening to this like thoughts or like, oh, I'm gonna do it now in English or in German or whatever. I have written songs in English and also in German, or parts of songs like the hook or whatever. But at the end, when it comes to making music, I just go with what I feel and what I think as an artist is the best way of doing it. Because on the one hand, that's what I'm passionate about. I'm not like passionate, and I think as far as I can get that everyone in here is passionate in the first place about making music and making the art. And on the other hand, it's like, even if even if you go and do it on English or in another language, then so many more people are doing it there. So you are never sure to break through and get a big career out of it. So I think it's not worth it to just because you think it's like better for your career to do something that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, it comes down to the music side and the business side. There's two sides that you have to consider sometimes, and I think musicians, we tend to lean on the music side because that's what we're super passionate about. So I totally agree with everything you said. And I think it was Dave who brought this up a little bit, talking about the music scene and how it used to be a few years ago. So I kind of want to know what the difference was between the music scene 5 to 10 years ago, and what was one of the biggest changes you guys have seen in your local scene, and how has it impacted your career as a musician? So we're going to start with, sorry, that was my bad. We're going to start with Rafa.
Yeah. Can you please
Yeah, that's all good. So I just want to know what differences you've seen in the music scene in the past 5 to 10 years. What has really stuck out for you?
In Switzerland?
Yeah, Switzerland's music scene. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say for me because I'm living like in this electronic scene, which is mostly based in the Netherlands. And in Switzerland, I'm only looking to the music since like a year or two to like in the depth. Yeah, so maybe there's another one right here in this group who can tell more about it.
Yeah, what maybe for some of you guys, what changes have you seen in the music scene as well for everyone else?
I've seen it change a lot.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry.
Please.
Go on. Okay. Yeah, it changed a lot. 10 years ago, when I was listening to the radio, I knew when it was a Swiss song. I was like, oh, it's a Swiss band. Oh, I hate that. The mix was not good. The accent was too maybe French or German. And that was not not professional. And nowadays, when I listen to radio, sometimes I have songs that are really good, and I'm like, is it from the US? And when I check on the internet, I realize it's from Switzerland. And to me, in Zurich, especially in Zurich, they improved a lot music. I can say Damian Lien is a really good artist from Zurich. There's many artists. Actually, they try to improve the sound and the music because they don't have any choice now, because you can make, everyone has access to the best plugins, and they have to push the levels. So music in Switzerland really changed and has nothing to do with 10 years ago. Totally.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. That's like the level which is expected now is much more higher, and which is also reached now than 10 years before. And the Swiss people, they know that because they listen a lot to music, like to American music, the music from the UK, and even from Germany. And Germany is our neighbor, so that's also like the question before, if we want to get out of Switzerland, like to get international, then the first country usually is Germany, because it's like number 3 of the music industry and a really good spot also. And also there are so many musicians. There are more and more musicians with a really high level and a really high understanding of musicality and also producing. And I think now we are at the point, or starting to be at the point, where we can be competitive with the whole world. That's, I would say, great now for Switzerland.
Well, and yeah, that's interesting that you mention like hopping to a different country and then building there, and then hopping to a different country and building there, and slowly kind of building up your franchise, I guess, as a musician. We mentioned, I can't remember who mentioned it earlier, but talking about radio play. So with streaming being more and more and more of a thing, and trying to get more international recognition, do you feel that radio will still be the way to go in like 5 or 10 years? Or do you think that everything with promotion is going to be all with streaming?
I think that radio is still strong and will remain strong, I suppose. But yeah, streaming is still important. But the radio stays strong, even if I always see that there's like in each radio in Switzerland, if you have some space for the Swiss artists, Swiss music, just like this, and then the rest is the space, the place they give to international music. So you can get some airplay if you have good music and you have good connections and relationship. It's not connection. You build a relationship and you can get you to play, to have a airplay for your music. But then it's like really hard to be a main artist, to have a real good airplay for a long time. If there's like a 2 out of 10 maybe if you're lucky of Swiss music, and the rest is international. So, but by the way, it's still strong. I think it's gonna stay strong. I don't know what you think, guys.
I think in Switzerland it's like in other countries, I think the radio will slowly disappear, but in Switzerland it's like it's such a small country, so it's not that interesting for streaming platforms like Spotify to really invest here, do some, like, we have some playlists with Swiss music, but it's not a Swiss guy who decide that these decisions are made in Germany. Like, there's not even, sometimes it's not even a guy that understands your language. And because of that, I think in Switzerland it will be still important to get played in the radio, and not even because of many people listening radio, but with you being in that pool, you're also, it's more likely you're in a specific kind of pool, and then it's more likely to that you can play on a festival or concerts and get the right connections. And so I think airplay will be on long terms important.
Totally agree. And I think I've seen also radios which have promoted the songs they played in the radio on social media too. So you have like this support on social media through the radio. I think it's, I can't say that it's like the best way to get your music out there even in 5 years, but I think it will be a thing still in 5 years.
At least in Switzerland, I think it's gonna
important. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. And that actually brings up a great point with festivals that I wanted to kind of touch on. Switzerland is known for being the festival capital of Europe. First of all, I just want to know if this is true. And second of all, do you guys have any experience either playing with festivals or like small or large festivals, being involved in them? Casper, can you let us know kind of what your festival experience is like?
Yeah, I know a lot of festivals in the Swiss, German part of Switzerland, and I think we've got a lot of great festivals. We've got a few big festivals with a lot of people, but we have also a lot of small festivals. They are very, very cute and kind of handmade art And I like those little festivals a lot. They have a amazing scene with a view in the Alps, in the mountains. It's great. I like those little festivals as well. I like the big one too. We've got in Bern, we've got a big one up on a hill, and you can see over the whole city from there. And you've got a lot of good music played up there, and a lot of people going up there to listen music. I played there as well with my group, and it was a big happening. I liked it a lot. So I think Switzerland has got a lot cool, nice festivals, from the smallest one to the biggest one.
Yeah, I would totally agree, because the people in Switzerland, they love festivals, like the audience and the musicians, and the like. Also, the cool thing is that most of the festivals are well organized, and for example, even during the pandemic, there were like organized festivals organized out of nowhere. I played, for example, on one festival. It was called the Distancing Festival. So, and then, for example, there was the topic that everybody's sitting like on these chairs, which you used to have at the beach, so that nobody's standing and hopping and stuff, and everybody kept the distance. But like the feeling was still really real, a little bit different, of course. But yeah, that was just one example. But I think festivals won't die in Switzerland, even if the pandemic is going on or not. Well, that's my opinion.
Well, that's really cool. That's really interesting to learn about all those things, because I honestly didn't know that about Switzerland. Yeah. So that's really cool to learn. So to finish off this roundtable, Millie and I really like to help our younger audience with informative advice on becoming a musician, as we can really only speak from a Canadian perspective on how to be a musician. Yeah. So we were wondering, what advice could you guys offer to any aspiring artists, specifically in Switzerland? And anyone, feel free to start.
So I am a young artist who has not that many gigs and not that many plays on Spotify, but I think the main thing is to keep going, to work hard, and most importantly to have fun, and don't make music because you want to be famous, or don't make music because someone said that you can make great money with music. So I think you should do what you like the most, and for me it's music. And yeah, so that's my advice for everyone.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm kind of in the same position. I'm also very young and not that big of a musician here, but if I've learned some things, it's, first of all, you won't get rich with music in Switzerland. So just do it because you're passionate about it. And then don't let anyone put you into a box. Like for me nowadays, with my current project, I have to tell everybody, yeah, I'm doing rap, I'm doing hip hop and stuff like that. But I'm so passionate about other styles and genres and etc. So feel free to do everything, because you're in Switzerland. There are so many creative people, and it's not that big of a business because there's not so much money in it. So you're more free in your creative kind of steps, and that would be my advice.
Yeah, I like your point that you have to be open. I think that's an important thing. You have to go to listen to other concerts, go to a concert you think you don't like, go to a jazz concert, to a classical concert, to a hip hop concert. Even you don't like the music, you have to be open for new styles, and that gives you impressions for your own music. And I think that's a very important thing.
Yeah, that's true. I totally agree. And well, what is really important, like some of you already mentioned it, like do at first start and do what you love, do this music what you really love, and do it as good as possible, and spread emotions. I think that's the most important thing also, and keep being consistent, and also don't forget about like the organization and business parts, because this is also uh, big part of being a musician.
I would
And
say, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, my advices are don't wait till you have the perfect song to make it out. Learn self-discipline because you will need it. And make sure you always have time and money to do it. Because if you don't have time and money, you cannot do music. That's a thing. Just money, just to have to pay gears, or just at least rent something, whatever it comes from you or from others, but you will need it.
Yeah, but I totally agree. And then even if you're really young, like me, I started at the high school. So I said, I want to do music. I really love music. I'm really shy. I want to sing. What can I do? I don't have experience. So just go out, find people, as I did in my high school. Some people who are passionate as you are, and start a band, do something, do concert, and try and learn and have fun and meet new people. And then it's like one step after the other.
I definitely agree with you have to spend money to make money.
Yes.
Something that we know all too well.
We're familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everybody, for sharing.
Yeah.
Lots of really great advice. A lot of advice I would have given myself as well. So it's
Absolutely.
really cool that that's kind of a universal thing
Yeah.
where universally it's agreed amongst musicians, you will not make a lot of money, so don't expect that.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Even in the banking capital of the world. you
Yeah.
know? So I appreciate the honesty and the sincerity. So thank you guys so much for sharing.
Yeah. That was actually our last question for today. We are out of time, but if you guys are at home watching this roundtable with Vienna Whyte on Twitch or on Reddit, make sure to follow us to be notified about all of our upcoming shows that we live stream throughout the week. If podcasts are more your style, be sure to search up the Vienna Whyte podcast through Spotify. So I'm Millie Rouge, one of your hosts today.
And I'm Marissa Kay, your other host from the show. You can find our band at Vienna Whyte. So Vienna, like the city, White spelled with a Y, because we're trendy. You can find us on Instagram at Vienna Whyte. You can find us on Facebook, Spotify, our website, viennawhyte.com. Anywhere you can find music, you can find us. Just make sure you spell it with a Y.
Perfect. So we are going to, I guess, outro out our guests. So can you pull up? I don't have the name there. Thank you. Perfect. So Casper, can you start us off by just again saying your band name and where our audience can find you on social media?
Yeah, thank you to having me here. My band name is Trubas Kater. It's written like that. Maybe I can. Oh, it's yeah. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and live on stage. Not now, but maybe in a few months.
Yeah, sounds great. And Dave.
And thank you for inviting me. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on Spotify and everywhere. Just tap Dave DeVita or Dave DeVita Music, and you'll find me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Stan.
Yeah, thanks also for having me here. You can find me on Instagram, it's Stan Sandronov, and on Facebook with my full name, Stanislav Sandronov. Like I have Russian roots, and there you will, and also on YouTube, Stan Sandronov. Like I started a YouTube channel. It's quite small, but it's getting bigger and bigger because I'm uploading more videos in the future. So yeah, and you will be informed, I think, mostly on Instagram, what's going on in my life.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
And Pato.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for having me. I was really excited and appreciate it very much. And yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, pato.music, and everywhere else. Thank you.
Awesome. And Rafa.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate what you're doing, you two. And yeah, you all can find me on Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, with Rafa Peril, Rafa with PH. And you can listen to my music on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, SoundCloud, everywhere. So check it out.
Awesome. And last but not least, Sylve.
Merci beaucoup, c'était cool. Dédicace au français. Thanks a lot. I'm Sylve, SYLV, and you can find me on Instagram. Can you see it? Yeah, at Sylve Music.
Yep. Perfect.
And on YouTube, Sylve, SYLV. Thanks a lot for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you everyone so much. We will see you guys again next time. Have a good day.